The World Series is at reach for both our Cleveland Guardians along with the Chicago Cubs. Today we've got games 3 and 4 back at home here in Cleveland. Last episode we went over the first two games of the World Series in Wrigley. Both games were very exciting and very fun. In case you missed that episode, I highly encourage you check it out in the series playlist where you can find any other episodes of the series that you may have missed. Before we get started, real quick, I do briefly want to talk about MLB The Show 23 because the game is going to be coming out in around 3 or so weeks. And in my Discord server, along with some of my Discord members, we are narrowing down some of the possible teams I may consider. And within the next week or so, I will have the final poll with likely 4 or 5 teams on the community tab for you to vote on. So currently here in the World Series, we are tied at 1. Both of the first two games were pitching duels, and neither offense really looked all that special. The first game we won 7-2, but Jack Flaherty for the Cubs pitched very well through the first few innings before our offense went on a big run in the 6th, in which we scored 5 runs. Shane Bieber pitched 7 innings, allowing 1. He was fantastic. In Game 2, we ended up losing 3-1 despite an absolute gem from Hunter Greene, who had a no-hitter last nearly 7 full innings, and we still lost. We only had 2 hits the entire game, both of which were from Zane Rowley, including a home run. Outside of Rowley, the offense was a complete train wreck, and going into this postseason and going into the World Series, our offense has been the strength of this team, and I was concerned about the pitching. However, through the first 2 games in the World Series, our offense has been inconsistent at best, minus that 1 inning in Game 1. We have really struggled to hit the ball so far, and we need our offense to really come alive. We need our veterans, guys like Marte, Ramirez, and Lewis, who are all all-stars, to continue to step up. It's nice seeing Zane Rowley continue to play well here in the postseason, but he cannot do it alone, because in Game 2, he literally was alone in terms of getting hits. As for the pitching, I'm pretty impressed so far. Shane Bieber and Hunter Greene have both had great starts. The bullpen looks pretty good as well. We're going to see John Means on the mound for Game 3 today, and then it'll be Shane Bieber back on the bump for Game 4. So hopefully those 2 guys can pitch well, and being back at home, our Guardians can potentially take a 3-1 series lead if all goes well. Another thing I would like to point out real quick, for those of you who have been watching the Knicks and the Titans series, you may notice that in the previous episodes of both of those series, I've had some trouble recording the in-game audio, and unfortunately that was the case here again. I know what the problem was. I was able to fix it for the next episode, but for now, there unfortunately will be no in-game audio, and instead I'll have background music behind my commentary. Here's a look at both lineups for both teams. Regular starters for the most part, although no Alvaro Pena for Cleveland today as he has been struggling offensively. John Means is starting for the Guardians in 10.1 postseason innings. He's been pretty mediocre so far, allowing 7 runs, but his whip is only at 1.16, so hopefully that's a sign that he's pitching pretty well, and he's just gotten unlucky in terms of allowing runs. His day will not start off very well as Akil Baddoo singles into left. The Cubs only had 3 hits in Game 2, all 3 of which ended up being home runs. Here's David Fletcher, grounds it to third. Ramirez with a ridiculous barehanded throw. He's not going to be able to get the out at second, but wisely just sends it to first for the Guardians to turn 1. That'll bring up Brian Reynolds, who hits this one well into left field, and that baby is gone. The Cubs set the tone early offensively here in Game 3 with a 2-run homer by Brian Reynolds. After failing to get a hit until the 7th inning of the previous game, the Cubs get to work early as they lead 2-0. 2 away for Lane Thomas. He will weakly pop this one up. John Means should make the play. I don't really know why Josh Bell went under there as well, but Means catches it. Still a good inning, though, for the Cubs, giving Taijuan Walker some early run support. Walker has allowed 6 runs in 12 postseason innings so far with a record of 1-1. He also has a pretty solid whip, though, at 1.25. With 1 away, Zane Rowley singles into left. Zane Rowley continues to be so good in the playoffs, and I know I sound like a broken record saying this every episode, but it's true. His postseason play throughout his entire career has been remarkable. Ketel Marte grounds it to short. What a play by La Stella. And the Cubs are not going to be able to turn 2 as Marte is safe at first. But still, what a play by Javier La Stella. That'll bring up Jose Ramirez, who I think has been a little bit underwhelming in the World Series after he was great in the rest of the playoffs, and he strikes out. Good work by Taijuan Walker as we go into the second. John Means trying to get into a groove, and he would have a nice inning here as J.J. Bleday would ground out to second. Ramiro makes the play. A nice 1-2-3 inning for John Means, and we'll see if the Guardians can get something going on offense. Kyle Lewis leads the inning off here for Cleveland, and he goes down looking on the fastball. Lewis's plate discipline in the World Series has been oddly really good. He's had a lot of hitters-friendly counts. Unfortunately, that time he could not take advantage. That'll bring up Josh Bell. He'll single into right, so the Guardians have a runner aboard here with one away, and a nice opportunity to get some runs across. Jesus Sanchez is up now. He's hit 130 here in the playoffs, but he has done a little bit better really since the start at the end of the Seattle series as he draws a walk. And now there's two runners aboard for the catcher, Luis Campusano, with two away. Campusano hits this one into the gap, and that'll drop. One run should score at the bare minimum, and that's what's going to happen. An RBI single for Luis Campusano. The Guardians still have runners on the corners. A big-time play there by the catcher, Campusano, as that'll bring up George Valera in the top of the order with a big shot to tie or even take the lead. He hits this one high and pretty deep into left field. Back at the track, at the wall, it is caught. That actually didn't really go to the track. I think I might have made that one over dramatic. But still, not a bad inning as Luis Campusano cuts the lead in half with an RBI single. Speaking of catchers, here's Sean Murphy. He goes down on the sweeping curve. That's Means' first strikeout of the ball game. Two away here for David Fletcher. He swings and misses again on the sweeping curve. And after a rough start, John Means looks a lot better these last two innings. Hopefully this is a sign of things to come and he can have a nice 5 or 6 inning outing. The offense is going to have to continue to make plays, however, as Zane Rowley is up to the plate. Full count here, and he draws a walk. So Rowley has reached base here in his first 2 at-bats, and the Guardians have a runner aboard for Jose Ramirez. He will draw a walk, and so Cleveland now has runners on first and second. Taijuan Walker is having a hard time of consistently finding the strike zone so far, as that brings up Kyle Lewis. Has a 2-2 count, and he goes down looking on the slider. Yeah, I don't really know what he was waiting for. That pitch was a beauty right down the middle, and he should have swung that bat. That'll bring up Josh Bell now. Full count, 2 away. He draws a walk. That pitch near the knees. So now the bases are loaded. A huge opportunity for Jesus Sanchez. He's got an unfriendly count, 1-2, and he goes down looking on the slider. Man, I don't think that pitch was a strike. I think that's a bad call by the umpire. That pitch absolutely looked outside. But nonetheless, the Guardians leave him loaded. Into the fourth now, another 1-2-3 inning for John Means, who has had 3 consecutive innings of not allowing a single base runner. He is pitching very well right now. Let's go bottom 4. 2-1, still your score. 2 away for George Valera. Grounds this one to first. That will be picked up easily by Jared Walsh. And the Cubs get a 1-2-3 inning as both pitchers are really starting to get a little bit more consistent as this game has gone along. And both pitchers look good right now, despite slow starts. Christian Arroyo is up for Chicago to lead off the 5th, and he's going to hit this one into the gap, likely for extra bases. This is Chicago's first base runner since the first inning of this game, as Arroyo holds up at second with a double, and with nobody out, the Cubbies now have a runner in scoring position. 1 away for J.J. Bleday as he lines out to first. What a play by Josh Bell. Not known for his defense, but he makes an awesome grab, potentially saving a run. Let's take a look at this one again in slow motion. Wow, excellent play by Josh Bell, and if that buys him, the runner, Arroyo, pretty easily scores. Now Chicago's going to need a base hit for Murphy, and they're not going to get that as Murphy goes down to the fastball. Good job by Means and the defense to get through the 5th, as the score still remains 2-1. The Cubs are going to make a pitching change. I don't really know why. Cole Reagans is now in for Chicago, the lefty. I feel like they should not have taken Taijuan Walker out. He was really starting to pitch well. Zane Rowley leads the inning off, grounded to third. Okay, maybe the Cubs did make a good choice. If this guy can get Zane Rowley out, then he can do just about anything. That'll bring up Ketel Marte. Lines this one deep into left field, and it is gone! Solo home run for Ketel Marte. And this game is tied at 2. Marte with his third home run of the playoffs. That ball was hit like a rocket off of his bat. I didn't think it had the height to clear the fence, but it just barely did. And we are now knotted up. That'll bring up Jose Ramirez now. He draws a walk with one away. So Cole Reagans was able to do the impossible and get Zane Rowley out, but he can't get anybody else out. He plunks Kyle Lewis, and now there's 2 runners aboard for Josh Bell, who has struggled against left-handed pitching this season. And Bell fittingly grounds it right to second. Can the Cubs turn 2? Yes, they will. 4-6-3, inning-ending double play. The Guardians did score 1 with the homer by Marte, but it really feels like they could have gotten more in that inning. John Means still in here in the 6th as David Fletcher gets that one by the diving glove of Ramon Ramiro for a single into right field. So the Cubs get themselves another early base runner. Fletcher looks to steal second, and he is out of there! Luis Campusano guns him down. Part-time ball player, full-time sniper. That'll bring up Brian Reynolds now. Grounds it to short. Marte makes the play. And that will most likely end John Means' day. 6 innings, 2 earned runs. Pretty much perfect since the first inning. Let's go to the bottom of the 6th now. See if Cleveland can look to take this lead as Jesus Sanchez goes down looking on the fastball. Another rough day at the plate offensively for Sanchez as he is now 0 for 3. Luis Campusano with 2 away flies it into shallow right. Should be caught pretty easily, and it will. Good inning for Cole Reagans as it remains tied at 2 with 3 innings left to go. Camilo Doval is in for the Guardians. He's been fantastic in the regular season, but in the playoffs he's been a little mediocre with 4 runs allowed in 6 innings. He does have 9 strikeouts though. His first batter is Jared Walsh, the first baseman, and he clobbers this ball in a right center field, and that one is gone. Solo home run for Jared Walsh, and the Cubs take a 3-2 lead. Chicago's first runs since the first inning. That'll bring up Lane Thomas. Now he strikes out with the fastball. It's important to have a short mind when you're a pitcher, and I don't know if anybody has demonstrated that better than Camilo Doval. He does walk La Stella, so now there's a runner aboard here for J.J. Bleday, and he goes down on the slider. Still, not a great inning, though, for Doval, allowing the home run to Jared Walsh as the Cubs are back ahead 3-2 going into the bottom of the 7th. George Valera leads it off, facing off against the lefty Daniel Norris, who's just checked into the game, as Valera goes down looking. That'll bring up Zane Rowley now, looking to get a spark going for the Cleveland offense, and he strikes out as well as he swings and misses at the high fastball. Good pitch by Norris, the longtime Detroit Tiger, as that'll bring up Ketel Marte, who homered in his last at-bat, and Marte weakly pops this one up. Jared Walsh should make the play, and he will. Through 7, the score is 3-2, and just like the first 2 games of this World Series, neither offense has been consistently good at all today. James Karinchak checks into the game here in the 8th. He allowed a home run late in Game 2 against the Cubs, looking to rebound here in Game 3 as he starts by allowing a walk to Sean Murphy. Then Akil Baddoo swings and misses at the knuckle curve, nearly jumping out of his shoes swinging at that pitch. Brian Reynolds with 2 away grounds it to third. Ramirez bobbles it and cannot make the play. Ramirez does a good job of deflecting the ball, but he was unable to pick it up in time. And now there's 2 on, 2 away for Walsh, who draws a walk, and thus the bases are loaded. A huge opportunity for Lane Thomas, who has not done much today, 0 for 3. Pops it into left. Rowley should be able to make the play, and it looks like he will. The Cubs leave the bases loaded as this game remains 3-2 going into the bottom of the 8th. The Guardians only have 2 runs and 4 hits. Can this be where the offense finally ignites itself? Brett Martin is in for Chicago. The lefty hasn't allowed a run so far here in the playoffs as he faces off against Jose Ramirez, who grounds this one up the middle, beats the shift perfectly for a base hit. That's not going to be an issue in MLB The Show 23 with the shift pretty much being taken out of the game, as that brings up Kyle Lewis. He hits this one nicely in a right, and it goes off the wall. I really thought that was going to be a home run. It had the height, but it did not quite have the distance. Nonetheless, Lewis is aboard at second, and there's 2 runners in scoring position with nobody out for Dansby Swanson. He's going to fly this one into right field. This could be a sacrifice fly opportunity as J.J. Bleday holds it in. Jose Ramirez will look to score, and he is safe. A successful at-bat off the bench for pinch hitter Dansby Swanson as he sacrifices in a run, and the game is tied at 3. Not to mention, Kyle Lewis is at third with only 1 out. Alvaro Pena comes in off the bench. He hits this one well into right field. Bleday at the track, at the wall. It is gone! 2-run homer for Alvaro Pena coming off the bench, making the biggest play of his young career as it's now 5-3. Pena's third homer of the playoffs, going 400 feet on the nose. That might be the biggest play of the entire season for the Cleveland Guardians up to this point. And it's Alvaro Pena, the youngest player on the roster at 20 years old. He may not be old enough to legally drink, but I don't think he's going to have to buy a drink in Cleveland for the rest of his life after that swing. And the impressive thing is that ball was on the outside part of the strike zone. So that wasn't even like a bad pitch or anything by Brett Martin. Pena just got the perfect spot on the bat and crushed it. So John Brebbia will now come in for Chicago. He has a 9.64 ERA in the postseason. Jay Allen coming in off the bench, hoping to do what Pena and Swanson were able to do as pinch hitters, and he is unsuccessful, striking out. But still a great inning for Cleveland as they score 3. They can bring their closer, Emmanuel Clase, into the game as he looks to get his 6th save of the postseason. Arroyo grounds it to second. Ramon Ramiro's throw is offline. So the Cubs start the inning with a runner after a throwing error from Ramon Ramiro. That'll bring up La Stella now. The Cubs re-energized after the error, but La Stella swings and misses at the cutter. Nice pitch by Clase, and that'll bring up J.J. Bleday. Grounds it past Ramiro for a base hit. This just got interesting. The Cubbies have 2 base runners aboard and only 1 out. They've got a real opportunity to do some damage as Christian Ramirez comes in as a pinch runner. Sean Murphy is up next. He swings and misses at the cutter for out number 2. That'll bring us back to the top of the order. And a huge opportunity for Akil Baddoo, who grounds it to third. Ramirez on one knee makes the throw! And this game is over! An incredible play at third base by Jose Ramirez to win the game for the Cleveland Guardians as they take home Game 3 of the World Series by the final score of 5-3. And with that, the Guardians now hold a 2-1 lead in the series with a huge come-from-behind win at home. This was a really exciting game as Jose Ramirez rides on the back of Alvaro Pena, but in all honesty, everybody is riding on Pena's back tonight after that awesome 2-run shot in the 8th inning to win the game. Both teams continued to struggle for the most part offensively. 7 hits apiece. Both teams were clutch in certain situations. The Cubs had the big homer in the first. Obviously, we were clutch at the end of this game with scoring 3 runs in the 8th inning. But both teams need to be a lot more consistent offensively. And oftentimes in the MLB playoffs, it's a matter of which pitching staffs can get hot. Right now, both of these pitching staffs are hot, and it might come down to which one can stay hot for longer. The Cubs did not look hot in that 8th inning, allowing 3 runs, obviously led by the homer by Alvaro Pena. I think it's safe to say he'll be starting in every World Series game now for the rest of the season. That'll bring us to Game 4. Back in Cleveland, we have a 2-1 lead, and if we win this game, then man, we're in a good spot. I don't want to get too comfortable with a 3-1 lead because 10 years ago, Cleveland was ahead 3-1 in the World Series against the Cubs, and you don't need to tell me how that ended. Nonetheless, I'm sure the Guardians would love to take a 3-1 series lead here and have all the momentum going into a possible elimination Game 5. Here's a look at both lineups. On the mound for the Guardians will be the ace Shane Bieber. He pitched in Game 1, so he's kind of coming off of short rest, and because of that, I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to go, but the Guardians feel confident that he can pitch them hopefully 5 or 6 great innings tonight. The Cubs open things up with a base runner as Akil Baddoo singles. That'll bring up Sergio Alcantara. He singles into right. Not a very good start for the Shane train as he allows 2 early runners, 1 away for Walsh. Grounds to second. This could be a double play. 4, 6, 3. Inning-ending double play. Good work by the Cleveland Guardian defense, and despite starting the inning with 2 early base runners, the Cubs don't drive anybody in. Chris Paddack is starting today for Chicago. 4.91 ERA, 1.45 whip. He's been very average in the playoffs, maybe a little bit below average, but he's going to need to pitch well tonight as he gets Ketel Marte to ground out. That was a fastball right down the middle. You know Marte liked that pitch, but he just didn't swing it well, and Paddack gets a 1-2-3 inning. Top 2, Christian Ramirez draws a walk. The Cubs are getting some base runners early, but they've also grounded into another double play if Cleveland is successful, and they are. 5-4-3 inning-ending double play. That's now 2 double plays against the Cubs today. Kyle Lewis is up here in the bottom of the second, and he draws a walk. With one away, the Guardians have a base runner. That'll bring up Josh Bell. 2-2, swinging a miss at the high fastball. Good pitch by Chris Paddack, who looks pretty good so far. That'll bring up George Valera, has a 1-2 count, and Valera swings and misses at the circle change. So far, so good in 2 innings for Chris Paddack. Hasn't allowed a hit, only 1 walk, as that brings us into the 3rd. Akil Baddoo is up for Chicago. He grounds it up the middle. Tough play for Marte, and he makes the throw. Bieber fever appears to be alive and well early tonight, as he's pitched 3 scoreless innings, and we go to the bottom of the 3rd. The former World Series MVP from 2 years ago, Eliezer Alfonso, is up. He draws a walk. Good at bat for the young catcher. That'll bring up Alvaro Pena, the hero in Game 3, and he draws a walk as well. Okay, so there's 2 runners aboard here. Nice opportunity for Mr. October, Zane Rowley, to put the Guardians on the board, and he draws a walk. So Chris Paddack has now walked, the bases loaded. His control seems to be an issue right now here in the 3rd inning, as that brings up Ketel Marte. He's got a full count. Marte pops this one into left. This could be sacrifice fly potential, as this ball is caught. Alfonso will look to head home. Pretty good throw to the plate, but it's a little bit offline, and thus Alfonso is able to score, and the Guardians are on the board with a sacrifice fly from Ketel Marte. That'll bring up Jose Ramirez. He's got a full count, and he swings and misses at the changeup. Rough inning for Chris Paddack. I know he only allowed 1 run, but he had to have thrown close to 30 pitches in that inning. His control was just off. Into the 4th now. Brian Reynolds checks his swing on the knuckle curve. Shane Bieber looks dominant right now. It's crazy how poor Bieber played in the first half of the year to now what he's been able to do in the playoffs. With 2 away, the Cubs fly out to 3rd. That'll bring us to the bottom of the 4th with the score still 1-0. Josh Bell grounds to 1st. Nice play by Walsh. Interestingly here, the Guardians don't have any hits. Chris Paddack is pitching a no-hitter right now, yet Cleveland is winning. George Valera grounds it to 2nd. Gonna be a tough play. Nice throw out at second base from Christian Ramirez. And despite having no hits, the Cleveland Guardians remain ahead 1-0. Both pitchers continue to look really good. J.J. Bleday is up in the 5th, and he leads the inning off strong. That one could go for extras as he'll waltz into second base with a double. He didn't really waltz, he slid, but still, a double nonetheless. The Guardians have to be smart with how they use Shane Bieber because his pitch count is starting to get up there at 65, and more importantly, he just pitched in Game 1, and the Guardians might want him to pitch towards the tail end of this series. Runner now on 3rd after a sacrifice fly hit to Kyle Lewis, as that brings up Jake Fraley, who goes down looking. 5 scoreless innings for Shane Bieber. The Guardians want to ride the hot hand, but they've also got to be smart with how they use him. I would still expect him to return for at least the 6th inning. Ramon Romero starts the 5th with a base hit into center, and finally the Guardians have a hit. It took them nearly 5 innings to do it, and they finally have one. Yet, impressively, they are winning, which is crazy. Alvaro Pena is now up, and he will get hit number 2. He singles in to right. Ramiro thought about going 3, wisely heads back to 2nd. So now there's 2 runners aboard and 1 out. Huge opportunity for the Guardians to really take control of this game. However, Zane Rowley strikes out, and he is frustrated with himself. And Ketel Marte joins him in strikeout land. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run from Chris Paddack. He's pitching very well right now as we go into the 6th. Sergio Alcantara is up for the Cubbies. He will fly this one into left, and it is caught by Valera. 1-2-3 inning for Shane Bieber. Now the question is, do you have him go into the 7th inning as he gets closer to the 100 pitch mark? Let's go bottom 6, see how Cleveland does. If the Guardians can get multiple runs across, I think it's more likely Bieber is taken out. And it'll be against Daniel Norris, who replaces Chris Paddock. Again, I feel like the Cubs are replacing their starting pitchers a little bit too early. Kyle Lewis strikes out, jumping out of his shoes, and then Dansby Swanson lines out to third. So Norris gets a 1-2-3 inning. Maybe the Cubs did make the right move by taking their pitcher out of the game. As we go to the 7th, Shane Bieber still in and still pitching very well. He forces a ground out to first for the second out of the inning. That'll bring you up the following batter, J.J. Bleday, 1-1 pitch. He lines it into left, and it is caught by Valera. 7 innings, 91 pitches, and 0 runs allowed for Shane Bieber. He has pitched tremendously today. With this still being a 1-run game, maybe the Guardians just keep him out there until the wheels fall off. Joe Barlow is in here in the bottom of the 7th. He's allowed 2 runs in 2 postseason innings so far, as George Valera gets a hanging pitch up in the zone. Ramirez makes a nice play at second. However, Valera is safe with a base hit. The Guardians open up the inning with a runner. We'll see if they can look to extend this lead as the offense has another bad day despite their lead. Ramon Romero grounds it to third. This is an opportunity to turn 2. There you go. 5, 4, 3, double play. Good work by the Cubs infield to turn a pair. Jesus Sanchez comes in off the bench, swings at a high fastball. I think he expected that pitch to curve down, and, well, it did not. Still 1-0 going into the 8th. Shane Bieber still in the game as Ramirez flies it into left. Valera cannot make the diving play, and Ramirez has an opportunity to do something big here as he gets a double. I really thought he could have legged that into a triple. But the Cubs have the runner in scoring position with nobody out, and from there, Shane Bieber will be taken out of the game. A historic performance here in Game 4 of the World Series for Shane Bieber. 7 innings, 0 earned runs so far. That number could go up to 1 if Christian Ramirez scores, as Bieber gets a well-deserved standing ovation from the crowd. Hats off to Cleveland for recognizing what a historical performance this is from Shane Bieber. The lefty, Alex Vesia, will come in to replace him. He's been outstanding in the playoffs. 3 innings, 8 strikeouts, and no runs allowed. He'll face off against Javier La Stella, who flies it into left. Valera makes a nice play. Ramirez will look to tag up to third. Risky decision, but it pays off as he is going to slide safely. So the Cubs now at the tying run, 90 feet away from home, and they're going to drive him in. A base hit from the pinch hitter, Lane Thomas. And this game is tied at 1. Big hit off the bench for Thomas, and this game just got real interesting. Sean Murphy up next, grounds it to Ramiro, flips it to Marte, over to Pena at first. An inning-ending double play, but not a bad inning for Chicago as they drive in a run, and this game is tied up. John Brebbia enters for Chicago here in the bottom of the 8th. He pitched in Game 3, looking to make some magic here in Game 4 and keep this game tied at 1. Alvaro Pena leads off the inning, and he leads it off with a bang. 1 hops off the wall for a double. That's Cleveland's first extra base hit of the entire game. And Pena, the Game 3 hero, makes a huge play here in Game 4. That'll bring up Zane Rowley. He hit that one well, but it goes foul. If he swung a little bit later, I think that one is hit well enough to drive in a run. Following pitch, 2-2 on its way, and he goes down looking on the outside fastball. Again, I don't think that pitch was a strike, but Rowley does not get the call as he walks back to the bench. Ketel Marte draws a walk, good at bat. There's now 2 runners on base and 1 out for Jose Ramirez. 1-1 pitch. Tough one to lay off of, and it's called a strike. The strike zone today feels oddly really big. Count now 2-2. Pitch for Ramirez. Hits it well into right, and that'll go for a hit. Pena will hold up at third, and thus the Guardians have loaded the bases. Just do not put the ball on the ground, Kyle, or strike out. Kyle Lewis hits it well into center. That'll score a run, most likely off of a sacrifice fly as it is caught. Marte will head to third. Pena will score, and the Guardians take a 2-1 lead here in the bottom of the 8th with a sacrifice fly from Kyle Lewis. Let's go to the 9th inning, see if Emmanuel Clase can shut the door. Clase is now a perfect 6 of 6 in save opportunities as he strikes out Akil Baddoo on the fastball. Sergio Alcantara goes down on the cutter, and he is pissed as that's the second out of the inning. The game comes down to Brian Reynolds. He hits this one well into center, and Rowley cannot make the play. The ball goes by Rowley, and this could be a big hit for Reynolds. Rounding second, headed to third. A 2-out triple for Brian Reynolds, and the tying run is 90 feet away from home plate. Man, what a big opportunity here for the Cubs as Reynolds is fired up. Let's look at this play again. I really thought Zane Rowley had the opportunity to end it, and it sort of deflected off his back, and that ball slowly went all the way to the wall. Lewis does a great job of quickly catching up, but not before Reynolds makes it to third. And now it comes down to Jared Walsh. Grounder to short. Marte has to make a tough play, and he will. Marte throws out Walsh, and this game is over. The Guardians win Game 4 by the score of 2-1. Another pitcher's duel here in the World Series, and history repeats itself. Just like 10 years ago, the Guardians hold a 3-1 series lead against the Chicago Cubs. Hopefully, Cleveland can learn from their organizational mistakes. Not a lot of the guys from that 2016 team are still here. It's really just Jose Ramirez at this point. So hopefully, him being in that locker room when Cleveland choked that World Series, hopefully he can continue to provide veteran experience along with all of the guys who were on the World Series championship team 2 years ago. 1 run, 6 hits for the Cubs, 2 runs, 5 hits for Cleveland. Again, pitcher's duel, no offense whatsoever. Both pitching staffs remain hot for the Cubs. Their starter, Chris Paddock, was great. The bullpen was also great, but our pitching was just a little bit better. Shane Bieber with 7 innings, allowing 1 run. He was incredible, getting his second win in the World Series alone. The Cubs did score in the 8th, but we answered back in the 8th to ultimately take the lead and win the game. So with that, the Cleveland Guardians now hold a 3-1 lead in the World Series. Again, Cleveland's been up 3-1 before against the Cubs in the World Series, and it hasn't ended well. Next episode will be Game 5, and since it's an elimination game, that'll be the only game in the episode. Can the Guardians finish it off and win their second World Series title in the last 3 years, or can the Chicago Cubs keep the series afloat and bring it to Game 6? That'll wrap up the episode. Make sure to like and subscribe. Peace out.